To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
What Shanghai Disneyland is today is clearly the result of great ambition and great dreams, but a team that has come together from all over the world, from near and far, from Disney and from China, to create this wonderful place and what I hope will be just a wonderful experience for millions and millions of Chinese of this generation and many generations to come.
Main Street in our other parks was relevant at the time because Walt grew up in a small town and he wanted to sort of replicate that small town feel. And so we've been doing that forever in our parks, and because this was Shanghai, a new market, we wanted this to be completely unique and different from all of our other parks. And so we said, you know, why not make it about the characters, because the characters are really the foundations of the company. The distinctly Chinese we put into it in sometimes in subtle ways, like in backgrounds and some of the graphic design we use some Chinese patterns. Also in the costuming we did, for sure, we incorporated Chinese into a lot of the costumes. Obviously the marquees, any of the main marquees, main entrance into Sweetheart's Confectionery or into Avenue M Arcade or into Remy's Patisserie, where Chinese becomes the focus for the main marquee and English becomes secondary. In our show graphics, sometimes we reversed it a little and we put English first and Chinese. In some places not at all, because it's more about the visual than it is about actually trying to communicate something via text.
Adventure Isle is a brand new experience that we've created that exists somewhere out there in the big blue ocean. We don't know exactly where. That introduces our guests to the beauty, the power, and the secrets of nature, simply put. We worked really hard to create a very believable environment. It may not be necessarily real, but we've tried to make it as believable as possible for our guests. And we've created an indigenous culture that lives on this island that has just been recently discovered in our time period, which is the 1930s, by this international group of adventurers we call the League of Adventurers. For the guest experience, what I really want is, and I've summed it up in a little motto that I have, which says, seek adventure, discover yourself. So what we really want is for our guests to really immerse themselves in this world and find out who they are, find out what they're drawn to, how are they wanting to challenge themselves, what really gets them going. But we want to do that obviously in a very entertaining and fun way. For Adventure Isle, in addressing the authentically Disney, distinctly Chinese mission that we have, we've done that in several ways. We have a fantastic theatrical experience called Tarzan Call of the Jungle that takes place on our Storyhouse stage that is great Disney storytelling, but blended very well with Chinese acrobatic techniques and other things that our guests will recognize, and I think in such a new way that will really pull them in and be exciting for them. In our Soaring Over the Horizon, where we take on a great adventure to see icons from around the world, we incorporate some great icons from China in that experience. We also have our League of Adventurers, which have members from China that are part of that, so that we can help communicate on a very good level with our guests so they understand the story, but in a very natural, again, and believable way.
Treasure Cove is an all-new land created just for this place, for Shanghai, and it celebrates pirates, the fun and adventure and romance of them, and some of our favorite characters like Davy Jones and Jack Sparrow. When they come here, they feel like they've been transported to a whole nother world, to another time and another place, and something that is fun and adventurous for the whole family. When I think about authentically Disney and distinctly Chinese, it is so much the fiber of this land that it's hard to really parse those two things apart. It was built and conceived for this place. It was painted, sculpted by hundreds and hundreds of local artists who all brought something to it. And I'm not sure it would be this same project had we done it in another world. So when I walk around here, I think this is distinctly Chinese.
Fantasyland Shanghai was designed really with our guests here in mind. We wanted to really broaden the offerings, give something for multi-generational families to do, something that would appeal to boys and girls of all ages, things that would be aspirational. So all of those things were really rolled into the initial conceits for Fantasyland, and I think what we ended up with was exactly that. We have offerings that we have our Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, which it's a family coaster, but it's still a little bit of a roller coaster, so it could be more aspirational. We have traditional rides like Peter Pan. We have a whole new attraction, Voyage to the Crystal Grotto. So some traditional offerings, but also some new and exciting ones. What I hope the guests take away really are a number of different things. One is what our stories and our characters are about, and a renewed interest, a new interest, an appreciation familiarity with the characters, something that will resonate with them in terms of the storytelling and going back to really the story arc, the hero's journey. So things that will be familiar to them, things that will resonate with them, and I think wanting to come back and learn more. Authentically Disney in Fantasyland is really around the characters and the stories that we tell. The whole land is really based on our traditional films and our new films. And those stories come to life here, the characters come to life here. And the distinctly Chinese part of it is really how those stories are told, how the guests perceive them. We have Chinese and English on our graphics. We have food offerings that are distinctly Chinese. The stories themselves, while they're not Chinese stories, we think that the guests will relate to them in terms of hero's journey, sort of traditional Chinese story arcs are very similar to the story arcs of our Disney stories as well.
The Enchanted Storybook Castle is the largest castle we've ever built in a Disney park. It's the most interactive castle we've ever built in a Disney park, and it's also got the most content, the most active content we've ever done in a Disney park. It also happens to be my personal favorite of all the Disney castles. Once Upon a Time Adventure is an interactive experience where guests can play and interact with Snow White and all of her animal friends in the forest. As the guests enter the castle for Once Upon a Time Adventure, they also get to see all the princesses carved in niches in the walls along the walkway, and in each of those princess niches has the name of the princess in Chinese at the base of it. This is one of our authentically Disney, distinctly Chinese aspects of the castle. The guests get to enjoy the Enchanted Storybook Castle from the moment they walk into the rotunda, where they'll be surrounded by 4 mosaics that feature 4 of our most contemporary princesses. They'll also get to experience a fine dining restaurant, the Royal Banquet Hall, and they'll get to experience the Bippity Boppity Boutique, where girls and boys can be transformed into princesses and knights. There's so many hidden treasures. In addition to the princess mosaics in the rotunda, there's a constellation star ceiling that has all of the symbols for each of the Disney princesses embedded in it, and that's super secret piece of magic. There's princess niches carved along the stairs around the rotunda, and then throughout the castle, all of the animal friends of the princesses that we see in the films of Sleeping Beauty and Snow White and Cinderella, they're all represented in architectural carvings and details throughout the inside and the outside of the castle. There are a number of areas in the castle where we incorporate our authentically Disney, distinctly Chinese design principle. 2 key areas would be in the princess encounter, where we have a Qing jade carving. It's an authentic stone carving that was done by carvers here in Shanghai, and that depicts the castle. The other area would be in the finial that tops the castle. At the top of the finial is a shining gold peony flower, which is the flower of China, and below it is a spray of stars, the Disney stars. And this finial that sits high atop the castle reflects the partnership between Disney and China. One very special feature of this castle is the voyage to the Crystal Grotto. This is an attraction that takes our guests on a voyage along the waterways of Fantasyland, ending at the grotto underneath the castle, where they will get to see the crystal that inspires all the magic of Fantasyland. And this is very special and unique to this castle, that we have an attraction that actually goes in and out of the castle. I hope that when the guests visit the castle, they're going to take away a sense of awe, a sense of magic, a sense of beauty. I think they're going to take away a sense of feeling of inspiration at the just overwhelming power and beauty of this castle.
When guests come into Tomorrowland, our greatest aspiration is that kids to adult will be inspired to think about the future and think about a hopeful future. So we've really tried to define what an optimistic future looks and feels like. The offerings that we have in Tomorrowland are dynamic, exciting, they're energizing the land. When you first walk in, you see jetpacks flying around. You see the light cycles powering through around us in this dynamic canopy that's going to come to life at night like no other. And then, of course, we get to join Buzz Lightyear and go on an adventure and defeat Zurg. So what better could you ask for? When guests leave Tomorrowland, I hope they're filled with optimism. I hope they get a sense of a hopeful and bright future that we all have if we all participate in it. And I think that's the goal of Tomorrowland, that you don't just come and witness the future, but you are part of it when you're here. Tron is not only our anchor attraction, but it's the destination, the icon of the land, if you will. This canopy that we have is not only just a beautiful piece of architecture, but it's architecture unlike anything else because there's trains of light cycles soaring through it. And when we were designing this, not only did we want it to be this beautiful accent in the land, but we wanted to take key elements from Chinese design and integrate that in. So the whole thing at night feels like one big lantern, and we talked about it as almost like the tail of a dragon, and this edge treatment was this very ribbon-like calligraphy that becomes this beautiful line that your eye wants to follow through. Our success in Tomorrowland and in the whole resort is measured by the smiles on people's faces coming off of the attractions in the land and really celebrating our bigger vision, which is showcasing creativity.
Gardens of Imagination is really designed for the guest experience, and it's really, the story is embedded into tradition of Disney, of animated films, and it's really something that transcends that. It's great for all ages, from grandkids to grandparents, and it's a multitude of stories of different gardens within the area.
Yeah. Okay, Dumbo, let's get this show on the road.
Gardens, I think, is very special in that, for example, the 12 Friends is a great avenue that we've created, that where we've taken the 12 Chinese zodiac animals, and we actually embedded the Disney characters that represent those, such as Tigger for Year of the Tiger and Mushu for Year of the Dragon. So it's a perfect crossover platform to create that venue. The garden really started conceptually as a first model we've ever done for a Magic Kingdom site plan format. And it's really special for this project. It's special for our local audience being here in Shanghai, China, in that it lends itself to being a full-on garden experience. There's areas to rest, there's story embedded into it with the carousel, from Dumbo to the 12 Friends, and all the ADDC elements of authentically Disney, distinctly Chinese elements. So it's a great decompression center of the whole park.
The entertainment program at Shanghai Disney Resort is the largest, most ambitious program we have ever done at a park opening. Very exciting. It's a large-scale program with a variety of offerings. So we have everything from the most spectacular nighttime spectacular to stage shows to a fantastic parade to small-scale, more intimate experiences with our street performers and, of course, the beloved Disney characters. There really is something for everyone. Entertainment is everywhere in this park, and it's a great introduction, I think, for some of our guests that may not be quite as familiar with our stories. It'll be a great primer for them to learn about the different Disney stories, and probably the most exciting thing is we're looking at the stories in many cases through a Chinese lens. what the entertainment experience does in all of our Disney parks is helps our guests get a human connection. It's kind of the face of Disney creativity because, you know, when you look in the eyes of our performers, you feel that energy, you feel that heart. I think that's going to be magnified here, amplified here, because when our audience sees these fantastic performers that have worked so hard delivering these shows that so integrate Disney and Chinese culture, I think it's going to be an experience unlike anything we do in the world.
I am also really proud of what the wonderful people who have been involved in designing and conceiving and building this have managed to accomplish. They've built something here that is truly a wonder of the world, something that will be appreciated by millions, something that will be loved by millions, something that will create memories that people will share throughout their lifetimes. And I think that's one of the most wonderful things about having the opportunity to not only work for but to run the Walt Disney Company, is to create experiences like this.
Oh my God.
Your